I'm only good at two things: pretending that I like dogs so women continue to hang out with me, and really getting the most out of just two shapes on guitar, okay? So this is gonna be a super easy lesson that I think is really enlightening. This is something I wish I would have started earlier because I didn't understand. I would see these shapes all the times in songs, but I never put together kind of the music theory behind it. We're gonna start off in the key of E minor, or G major if you wanna look at it some way. But we're gonna start off with this chord right here. Is it even a chord? It's a root note, an octave of that root note, and a minor third, okay? So technically you need three different notes to make a chord. So this is really just kind of like a power chord because it's just a root note, an E, and then its minor third, but it ends up being a shape, and there's a lot you can do with this shape, okay? So this is shape number one, and it's just a root note, and then down a string, back 2 frets, okay? Now, we're gonna tie everything in this first part of the lesson together just by kind of going back and forth between the open E string and then the shape, okay? Now, a lot of times I'll be palm muting it too because you really kind of get a different vibe. It's a different way of playing, and it also kind of opens up just how the sound of playing simpler, smaller chords, shell voicings, however you want to look at it, is going to sound in the context of a key, okay? So this is our first shape. Now there are two other places, two other notes this shape is going to work on in this key, okay? This is the relative minor key of E, otherwise the key of G is a good way to look at it. So the other chords in this key that are minor would be A minor and B minor. So we can use that same shape where, again, it's just your ring finger, or you can use your pinky, and then down a string, back 2 frets. Again, root note, minor third. And we can use them in different locations, like where the B note is, 7th fret on the E string, 5th fret on the A string, or the 5th fret on the E string, 3rd fret on the A string, okay? Now the cool thing is we can always open up that low E string to kind of get the vibe of E minor going around. So I'm just gonna move around from the E minor to the B minor to the A minor. You could also maybe do like an octave here, right? So the 7th fret on the E string is also the 9th fret on the D string. And you could do something like that. See, I'm kind of getting that. I'm getting that open A too. Now, I think the fun thing is when you mix in the major chords. Like I said, E minor and G major are essentially the same key. So we could use a different shape. This is the only other shape we're going to do for the entire first part of this lesson, is the same idea, but with a major third instead. So for the G chord, C chord, and D chord, it's just ring finger on the root note. Again, for G, it'd be the 3rd fret on the E string. And then instead of 2 frets back down a string, it's 1 fret back. So like the beginnings of a G major chord. But I'm only going to try to get either these two notes that I'm holding down or an open E string to tie everything together, okay? So 3rd fret on the E string, 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the A string are going to be where the major chords exist. So we can put that shape on any of them, all right? So G, C, D, and again, I'm still going back and forth to that E. Right there, I'm kind of opening it up. Then minor. Okay, so now when we start mixing it, it becomes so much more musical like this. Now, when you do it like that, you essentially play all the 6 main chords in a key, but we're doing it in maybe a way that you're not used to. So it's a different way of thinking, or maybe you are used to it, and this is just something that you kind of do using these 2-note chords. You can call these dyads. That'd be an interesting way to kind of look at it. But the nice thing about E minor, which I know you've played it like this, is you can get the G, B, and E strings on top because that's just an E minor chord. So even if you go a little deeper, it all sounds good, right? And another reason it sounds good is because I'm playing it through this Supro amp. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Supro. This is an Amulet. This is my favorite guitar amp. You've seen this amp. This has been my main amp in the studio for a long time. Really awesome tube amp. Depending on, no matter what kind of space you're in, it's the amp for you, because right now I just have it on 5 watts. You can dial it down to 1 watt. And then like really just drive the gain up if you want. Like if I want to go down to 1 watt, I can turn the volume up. You can kind of hear it. You can hear it start to break up at 1 watt and then just really kind of crank it with the volume. Or you can just have it on 5 watts. I usually like having it on 5 watts because you kind of get that. It's still creamy, it's still clean. It's got a 2-band EQ, treble and bass, reverb. I'll get the reverb way up there just so you can hear real quick. And last but not least, it has a tremolo built in. Alright, so let's dial the reverb down, just so you can kind of hear the trem. Let's dial that speed up. Make it deep. See how cool that? Ah, it's such a good amp. I love the Super amp. My favorite small combo that you can get. Now I'm just like totally abandoning the lesson just because I love the sound of this. Oh, the trem on this. Let's keep the trem on for some of the next part of this because it just sounds so good. So anyways, thank you to Supro and Sweetwater for sponsoring the video. There's an affiliate link in the description if you want to check it out. But it sounds so good. So again, these are just the 6 main chords with kind of chugging on that low E string. So here, let's do an example of how you can kind of jump back and forth between something that is very simple sounding and then flesh it out, especially if you're building the dynamic of a song, right? So again, this is just a representative of an E minor chord. Like I said, it's not a full E minor chord because we're actually implying the 5th, unless we get all the higher strings in with it, then it becomes an E minor chord. But when we're just doing this, it's essentially still a power chord. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go E minor, D, we're thinking of D major, C major, back to D major, right? So this is gonna be our exercise. Sounds cool, it's a vibe. You're practicing palm muting and then just being able to go back and forth with this shape. See how I'm really just having my ring finger lead the way? And then my middle finger or my pointer finger is determining if it's minor or major. If I want to go to the 10th fret is a G, it's major again. E minor, G major, C, D. Okay, these are just the 2-note representatives. Or I can go. jump into the bigger chords, it has such a totally different vibe, but it's still essentially the same kind of thing. So that's why I think it's like a really fun thing to experiment with like a, you know, there's a minor 7, everybody's favorite open E, I'm borrowing the 7th fret, and then my ring finger and middle finger are coming down on the 9th fret of the D string and the 8th fret of the B string. D7, 5, 7, 5, 7, C major 7. And then especially if you have a trem on, oh my gosh, those open major 7 chords where it's 3, 3, 2, open, open, open. Sounds so good, right? So this would be a 6, 5, 4 chord progression in the key of G. 6, 5, 4, 6, 5, another voice of D, 4, bring it down. Open it up. Oh, amazing. And then if you want to turn the trem off, you can just take the depth down to 0. And there it is. So awesome. So many different ways you could do this. Let's do something in a more major context using the same root note. So now let's do something in E major, okay? So now what I can do is maybe I can extend one string into the chord voicings that we're doing. We can still utilize the open E string, and there's the octave, and then let's make this one major. Okay? So remember, first one was E minor, E major. One of my favorite things to do is to go with these same chord voicings, but now let's dive one string deeper, and I'm just using my pinky to grab the major 7, okay? Which, right here, is the 8th fret on the G string. So now this is the 1 chord, or it could be the 4 chord in the key, but since we're very E-centric, we're thinking of this as the 1 chord. This would be the 6 chord, because now all our other notes change because we're going from minor to major, right? So now we're thinking E major, all right? Now, if you follow my Patreon, you know the chords in E major, the 1, 4, 5, which is what a lot of people start with, would be E, A, B. Those are the major chords, which again we can go E, A, B, which again is I think it's more interesting way to play E, A, B like this. Slide into the 12th fret, which is A, and then we could go from E, just you move your ring finger down, and then now it's like a B. Major 6 would be a way to think of this chord, but look how easy that is. Right, and these are just all the major chords in that key. Or you can do other, traditional chord voicings to kind of pile on top of these. But it's the same idea, digging into it. Okay, now there are 3 minor chords. We could do the same thing. Originally, those would be F sharp minor, G sharp minor, and C sharp minor. Different ways to find that. We could be the F sharp minor, G sharp minor, C sharp minor. So always good to find relative to other chords where these sit, right? Because I know this is my root note. Again, there's the first note in that key, that E. I always know the relative minor is going to be 3 frets back. There's C sharp minor, which again, 4th fret, minor 3rd, and then I can still chug it along with that open E, which is now our major sound. 1 to 6. 1 to 2. 3. 4. fun way to maybe practice different time signatures too, right? I'm going like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is really kind of like a 4 count, which 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 3, and 2 is 8. So it's still just accenting something in 4, 4 generally. But if you want to do something in 5, this would be a cool place to start, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So kind of like having that burst of that steady kind of thing is a great way to train into just your hands, just how to maybe play some cool different stuff, right? And again, whether you want to go for like a minor or a major vibe, or a minor, it's always going to sound good. And it's just good kind of different techniques that is super fun to play through your Supro Amulet amp on either the 1.5 or 15 watt settings with your D'Angelico Hollowbody guitar. All the stuff that you get from Sweetwater. Anything you order from Sweetwater, please do it through my affiliate link, because then I get credit for it and they know to keep sending me stuff to make videos with, which is like the absolute joy of my life. So thank you, Sweetwater. I love the candy. I love the customer service. I love the inspections they do on the guitar, and I love the quality of the stuff that they provide. Supro, D'Angelico, all the good stuff. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave me in the comment section, Instagram, the website, and I'll talk to y'all soon.